Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you my part 1 in the discussion for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. So let's get into today's video. Okay, the opening of the book is now situated in the House of the Riddles, that is the house in which Voldemort was born and brought up, and we have this conversation between Voldemort and Peter Pettigrew of how they are planning to capture and kill Harry using the portkey that is going to be the Goblet of Fire, and how they have this imposter from their side who's going to get into Hogwarts and help them getting Harry to this graveyard place, that is the graveyard of the riddles. And after all these happens, we have the first murder occurring on screen and the on page, and the first occurrence of Avada Kedavra that we see. We don't have the actual spell, but in the book, but we get this green flash, which is the symbolism of the death curse, that is Avada Kedavra being made right then. We also get this conversation of how Nagini can communicate with Voldemort. It was good in that sense. The first murder in the book sets the tone of the book very well, because it is going to be a darker story compared to the first three books. After this encounter in the Riddle house, which Harry also dreams of currently, we go to the house in Privet Drive, that is the house of the Dursleys, in which Harry has lived in his vacation for the third year. And we also receive this invitation from Molly Weasley inviting Harry for the Quidditch World Cup. Molly has covered the envelope of the letter with stamps, not knowing if it would be enough or not. But the number of stamps on that envelope is such that it covers the whole envelope. And the Weasleys come to take Harry to the Quidditch World Cup. Mr. Weasley and the twins and Ron, all the four of them, they come and take Harry. While coming, they use the Flu Powder Network, and it was so good. It was such a funny scene. They didn't make it in the movie. I am so annoyed by that, because it would have been a treat to watch. Because they come in breaking through that shut down fireplace. They take Harry. They make a mess of the Weasley's hall, and we see the first experiment of Fred and George with the Weasley's wizard beasts when they just leave out a toffee. Dudley takes it and eats it, and his tongue just elongates, comes out of his mouth, and falls on the floor. It looks like a worm or something. And Arthur offers to make him normal again, but the Dursleys are frightened. Yet Arthur just does it on his own style, and he takes away Harry and goes to the burrow. In the burrow, we meet Hermione and Ginny, and they all how to say, they all come together and again. And now Harry takes Ron and Hermione separately and tells them about all these things which he saw in the stream. Those are very good things. And Fred and George, they are being continuously scolded by Molly in this one, because they are such geniuses, if you ask me. Fred and George are so totally genius, and I'd like to be a part of their joke shop, which is the Weasley's Wizard Beasts, which they'll be coming up with in the future books, just for a reference. And it was so good. I liked all those fun parts of the book. And they are using the port key in order to get from the burrow to the place in which the World Cup is taking place. The Quidditch World Cup is another big thing which we are going to see in a few more minutes. I'll be coming to that. And apart from this, we also meet the degrees, that is Cedric Diggory and Amos Diggory, who's his dad, on the way while they go to take the portkey, in which all these things are so good. Cedric is so handsome, and Ginny and Hermione have this teenager instinct, just as we see in most series and movies. It was so good. It was such a realistic experience, if you ask me. Okay, after taking the portkey, all of them get transported to the place in which the Quidditch World Cup is taking place. It is not said where the World Cup is taking place, because it is kept away from the Muggles. That was so annoying. And the movie starts from the waking up of Harry in the burrow. It is shown like Harry has the dream in which he sees the Riddle house in the house of the Weasleys, that is the burrow, but it doesn't happen so in the book. I have to tell that here. And apart from that, when we get to the place where the World Cup takes place, there are a lot of things which go on. They form the best part of the world, if you ask me, in this book. And we see different Quidditch teams who are coming there. especially the finalists Ireland and Bulgaria, and how we see that Ireland is far better compared to Bulgaria, but Bulgaria has Victor Krum as their seeker, and he's very good at catching the snitch within a very short amount of time. But the thing which I didn't like about this was that how the Quidditch World Cup ended. There are a lot of events which must have taken place, and a lot of big number of matches which must have happened before reaching to this finals, and Krum just ends it by catching the snitch and losing the match for the game, because Bulgaria just required 20 more points in order to beat Ireland and win the cup, but Krum chose to end the game on his own terms, which was such a stupid move, dumb move, if you ask me. If they had tried a bit more, I think that there are a lot of possibilities that the other team might have won, but I think there was a pretty hefty chance for Bulgaria to win as well. But Krum just ruined it, according to me. And the players of his team are also so dumb; they don't get that. They're just okay with Krum having caught the snitch. And apart from all these things, after all these shenanigans going on, we find this very adorable another house elf, apart from Dobby, who's Winky. The best thing about Winky, which I love, is Dobby is shown as a male house elf, and Winky is a female house elf. Her appearance is different, a bit different from that of Dobby, and Dobby is a person who yearned for freedom, but Winky is a person who is so loyal to her master, and that was so good. At the end of the World Cup, everything is done, and we see the events which actually have been planned to happen at the end of the World Cup, because it is going to have a huge gathering of wizards. The end of the World Cup faces the appearance of Death Eaters after a long time gap, and there is also this occurrence of the Dark Mark, which symbolizes that there is going to be death pretty soon in this wizarding world in a very great scale. Okay, after all this journey, finally we are going to enter the fourth year in Hogwarts. It is nearly 200 to 250 pages just to reach Hogwarts in this book, which is a lot of time. 250 pages is actually nearly the length of the first book as a whole, and it has taken that much time just in order to reach Hogwarts in this one. And in the first day, after all the sorting is done, Dumbledore announces that the Triwizard tournament is going to be held this year, and there are a lot of restrictions. They are going to keep the students safe from from getting hurt or any other stuff. But they evidently don't do that on the page of the book. There is nothing that is seen that they are protecting the students who are competing in any way. Yet Dumbledore says that, so I accept, because he's my favorite character. And apart from all these, we don't get the selection of the Triwizard champions in the first first day itself. It takes like 2 or 3 months. Actually, on the night of Halloween, the Triwizard champions are chosen, and the three champions, that is Cedric for Hogwarts, Krum for Durmstrang, and Fleur Delacour for Beauxbatons are chosen. And the goblet just spits out another name, who's Harry Potter, which is Harry Potter, because there was this very pretty mechanism that was used. That is, this person who I'm going to discuss in a short term as well. He puts in the Harry's name from a different school into the cup, and he's the only person from that school. So the goblet will, of course, spit out his name, because there's no other person who's competing from that school. And that was a clever move, but I don't understand, because there's no fourth school according to the Goblet of Fire, yet it chooses Harry as the fourth person. That was a bit weird. And after all these, we get this investigation of Dumbledore and all the other headmasters with Harry, and evidently, except Dumbledore, no one else believes Harry has not put his name in the cup. Everyone else criticizes Dumbledore, saying that there has been some folly which they've been playing in order to get an extra participant into the match or somewhat. Why should they get underage wizard, that is a boy who's merely 14 years old, into the game? That is such a deadly game. I don't get that point. That feeble-mindedness of certain human beings, though they are being wizards, was well played in the books. the final thing which I'm going to discuss in this video is this new defense against the dark arts professor, who's Alistair Moody, and he's a cool guy. He's obviously the villain by the end of the book, but everything that Barty Crouch Jr. does as Moody throughout the book, there are always two different meanings for things that he do. The first thing is that how you see it the first time you're reading the book, that is, it's being done by Moody, and the second time, that is during a reread or a rewatch of the movie, uh, it is seen in a total different tone, because we don't see Moody doing all these stuff. We are seeing Barty Crouch doing them with the mask of Moody, and all these things which he is doing, they have a totally different thing to do with Harry and his life in Hogwarts. Those were very well done. I loved that character, and that double role play of a single character. That is, when you reread only, you will be able to understand these stuff. You can obviously understand the things coming together once you reach the end of the book on the first read. Yet a reread actually gives you a different perspective of the story. That is, you're not seeing Moody's part of the story from the perspective of Moody, but from the perspective of Barty Crouch Jr. and his influences. That was so good, if you ask me. Okay, that's all for today, and the part 2 of the discussion will be coming out tomorrow, so watch out for that if you enjoy watching this. And if you did like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. If you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.